I made a very special video on a very special game, on my very special birthday, on a very special system. In that video, I told you how the name TeslaChad came to be. I also reviewed the Switch port of a game called Teslagrad. The developer Rain Games was nice enough to provide me a copy for that review. After that video, they contacted me about how their next game, World to the West, was also coming to the Switch. So they sent me over a review code, and here I am. I'm gonna review World to the West on the Nintendo Switch.
The game starts off with what we assume to be the boy from Teslagrad all grown up. After you click the start button, he runs away into the tower as his daughter chases after him.
Oh dear God, Comic Sans. What have I gotten myself into? Alcohol is awful. How do people drink this?
I gotta say, this is so cool to see a bridge from a game I love so much in 3D. It also looks like his daughter, Lumina, has all of the power-ups her now-grown father had. As you make your way inside, you see your mother. She informs you on how to use some of your powers, and then you use them to make your way over to talk to your siblings. Now I know this isn't a direct sequel to Teslagrad, but it's set in the same universe, and I just love being back in this world and using those powers. I also love the little nods they give back to their first game, like this painting. Your brother and sister need help by fixing the teleporter. After you do, you unexpectedly get teleported to a different place. As Lumina, all you know and all you need to know is you gotta find your dad and get back home. Now, I'm not a fan of top-down perspectives, but I like this world so much that I don't mind it. It actually sorta grows on you. Combat so far is simple. You got a Tesla staff that you can hit enemies with. Music is cheery, and in the beginning very reminiscent of Teslagrad. But once you change environments, the music changes too. The soundtrack sets perfect tones in whatever situation or area you're in. Music like this needs to be appreciated more because I find modern day game soundtracks lacking in how each track is implemented. Setting tones with music is essential to an action puzzle adventure like this. The graphics are charming, something that'll hold up 10 years from now. After reading a stone tablet, Lumina unexpectedly falls down a hole. The story is told in chapters. Right after Lumina falls into that hole is when you change characters. You are now in control of a boy named Naus. Naus is a part of a group of kids who think they're on the moon. He discovers a tree with sunlight coming from above. When he informs the higher-ups of his group that he thinks they're not on the moon, they flip and kick him out. With the help of Naus's shovel, he can dig underground to solve puzzles and avoid enemies. You can only dig in some areas, but not others, and can also squeeze through small spaces. Something that is essential later on in the game. As Naus is trying to find his way outside, he runs across an old lady near a totem pole that has my face on it.
Run away now, she's gonna eat you up. Why won't it let me do anything? Why won't it let me do anything?
Right before I get my message, we shoot to another character, a mercenary named Terry.
I see what you did there.
Terry is being hired by a rich tycoon named Mr. Tycoon to retrieve a special item for him. Here's where you get your map, and wow, it is huge. The first thing I thought about whenever I saw this map was The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. That's such an iconic game that affected so many future games since its initial release in 1991. To nail a world like this is very hard. It needs to be large, but not too overwhelming. It needs to be diverse, but not too different that it seems like a bunch of mismatched puzzle pieces. Luckily enough, World to the West does all of these things right.
Now, I'm not saying that it's a ripoff of A Link to the Past. That's not the case at all. It uses its own characters, its own writing, and world to make it its own.
Back to the story. Terry, the mercenary's only way to fend off enemies is her scarf.
Why isn't it working? Why isn't it working?
Terry eventually comes across the old lady I mentioned from before. Is because her arrival was foretold, along with the other people whose faces are on the totem. Terry doesn't take any of this lady's crap and just leaves. The top of the map isn't the only way you'll be traveling and puzzle solving. You'll be making your way through caves that are all connected underground. So basically take that above ground map and double it. As you take back control of Terry, you'll notice that you'll need these certain shaped keys to open ancient doors. Those are littered throughout the game, but the first one you come upon requires the help of Naus. Now that you've come upon a second totem pole, that means you have to switch to him for help in order to make your way out. Once you choose the option to switch to another character is when you notice you can fast travel to any totem you've already located. At first, this is really tedious and I hated it, but over time it grew on me. It helped me remember the areas I was exploring, and when I was controlling someone new, I was finding new sections to the places I already trekked through. This made exploring much more fun and rewarding.
The last character you play as in World of the West is by far my favorite, Clonington.
Clonington is the best. He's a clone who comes with his creator, Hypodermia. Clonington is the most lovable lug. He's here to take down the biggest and baddest creature the land has to offer. He is full of hilarious lines and even has his own flex button.
Dear God, I love this man.
Clonington's ability is being a fast puncher and bull rushing big objects. He feels the best to control.
So far, World of the West has had a really slow start. Nouse and Terry are by far the least interesting and least fun to play as. As you play your way through the game as each individual character, you get new abilities. A charge-up shot, an extended teleport for Lumina, ice boots for Nouse, climbing and rock breaking for Clonington. For Terry, the ability to carry around creatures you can mind control. Now that's not all the upgrades they get, that's just a few. I just don't want to spoil all of them. Even after you get all these cool abilities, it's still such a slog to play as Terry or Nouse. Lumina and Clonington are by far the best and most fun to play as.
World of the West is an action puzzle game, and I've yet to talk about the action, or puzzles. Starting off with the action, it's mediocre. When it works, it feels pretty good, but every attack is so delayed. So when you need to hit something, you have to think about the delay in the attack to land some good damage. It's utterly frustrating. In boss fights, you need precise attacks, especially in this one. It took me 30 minutes to finish this because I kept dying due to the delay in each swing that demanded precision. Actually, there are only a couple of good boss fights. All the others are just mediocre. Clonington's attacks are the only one that works alright because you can basically spam the attack button and not get hit a majority of the time. With each character at first, it felt okay to engage in combat, but once you go up against harder bosses and rooms full of more enemies, it gets frustrating. The action isn't the best, but the puzzles are. It's some of the most fun I've had solving puzzles in quite a while. It's hard to design puzzles in an action game like this because you don't want the player to just blow right through them, but you also have to make them challenging and rewarding without having a steep difficulty curve. I find that's a problem with most puzzles in games nowadays, so to see World of the West pull it off is great.
There are 36 scrolls like in Teslagrad, but luckily enough you don't have to collect all of them to see a true ending. There's also a lot of chests you can unlock in the world that give you health upgrades and currency.
Since the Switch is also a portable console, that means you can take it anywhere. To capture the best footage for this review, I played it on the big screen, but I prefer it the most portably. This isn't a pick up and play anywhere type of game. This is the best for long car rides, because this is a game that's so big that you get sucked into it and you don't want to put it down.
World of the West is a great nod to A Link to the Past on Nintendo's most recent console. The combat is simple at first. As you face harder bosses and rooms full of enemies, it's notable that the attacking is flawed. Lumina and Clonington are by far the best characters in the game. The other two are just not fun. The first 2 hours of the game is such a chore to play, but once you get past that is whenever World of the West really becomes a blast. I wish that once all the characters teamed up, you could freely travel to any totem you wanted to, but sadly that's not the case. I do understand why they chose that direction. It means that you can remember areas you've already traveled through as other characters, and it promotes exploration to suck you in the world even more and travel for collectibles. The dialogue is very well written, and at times had me even laughing out loud. World of the West has its problems, but if you can power through those first slow couple hours, it really starts to shine. I give World of the West on the Nintendo Switch an 8 out of 10.
Do you like podcasts? Of course you do. So why don't you check out the Yeti Bros podcast? It's me, my friend Thomas from The Toka Show, and Darson from The Silver Screener. We talk about all sorts of different video game topics. As of right now, we only have around 2 episodes up. You won't be finding the Yeti Bros podcast on all of our personal channels. It is a separate channel entirely. So if you're looking for a podcast of good-looking guys talking about games, the Yeti Bros podcast is where it's at.